Oh, this is fun. They make this so easy. This little tricycle.
It's so much nicer riding a bicycle.
Oh yeah, I mean fresh air and
Yeah.
sunshine and the whole works. It's
Lovely.
nice.
It's splendid.
Yeah, it is splendid.
This is Peak Moment. We are living at a peak of human innovation, information, wealth, and health. But we're also at a peak of population and consumption, with rising temperatures and declining resources fueled by cheap oil and gas. Peak Moment Television, bringing you examples of positive responses to energy decline and climate change through local community action.
Hi, welcome to Peak Moment. I'm Janaia Donaldson. I'm inside a happily colored cargo bike store in Portland, Oregon. It's Splendid Cycles, and my guests today are the bike fanatic proprietors, Joel and Barb, Grover, co-owners. Thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you for having
It is
us.
a happy-looking place with wonderful bikes and so on.
Yeah, and it feels good to be offering these bikes to the community and
Well,
beyond.
this is fairly new to you,
It
right?
is.
You just
Yes.
opened this?
Very.
What
Absolutely.
prompted you to take this step?
Well, over the years, both Barb and I had worked in a traditional bike shop, that was really, based on, selling toys and, consumption. And, over the 2007, 2008, I was, a little, after 20 years in it, the business was having a harder time with these industries that are, focused on, consumption. And really, I was, kind of down in the dumps, thinking about the state of the world and really, wanting to do more. And, in 2009, we left our jobs and we decided we wanted to do, something more positive to help, address some of the world's problems. And, one of the big ones is, how do people move around a big city like, Portland, Oregon, and getting people out of their cars and using bicycles that are purpose-built for, moving people and moving kids and moving groceries or, whatever. And, within a mile or two of your house, there are, some amazing bikes out there that can do everything you need, that can replace a car. So we wanted to bring, more choices, into the city and, perhaps even, the West Coast or all of North America. So,
Yeah.
The whole works.
yeah.
And for me, Joel mentioned I was also in the bike industry, but I've done a number of things over the years. But a lot of it for me is that I watched him through that period in, 07, 08, where he really got this dark cloud following him around when he was feeling the weight of what he saw potentially happening in the world with peak oil and the economy and a number of issues around food security as well. And so when we had the opportunity to do something on our own, I think we both knew we would have to have integrity with our values, and those values were the predominant ones for us. That we knew bikes, but we didn't want to start just selling stuff again. That they would have to have more meaning, that we'd have to really be passionate about what they were doing, what they could do for other people.
So that you're a part of the solution, if you will.
Right.
To what you were worrying,
Yes.
what's worrying you.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, and that's felt good. I think we've been feeling that this is the right step in that direction. The people that shop here and the people in general that we know that are working with cargo bikes are very common values, and they see that and they get out there and they're spreading the gospel, if you will, as well, that people see their bike and they're different looking, and so they immediately create an opportunity for conversation, and that conversation almost always leads to one of the benefits of using bicycles instead of automobiles, whether it's health or environment or
Because you get your your
Yes,
exercise.
yes. Yeah, Joel and I don't really exercise much. We just ride our bikes and do our errands, and
Right.
we stay pretty fit.
So you're using the cargo bikes for nearly everything?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
So when do you need to turn to an automobile?
Well, we still own a 15-year-old, biodiesel Volkswagen that gets used periodically, for longer distances. But in a city where a couple of miles is everything we need, we think bicycles are very appropriate. It's like you get front row parking everywhere you go.
It's really nice. Yeah, we like
You-
that.
and you just save time. There's no traffic to deal with, and the facilities in Portland are pretty easy to get across town if that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, and here with in the urban environment, we can get somewhere by bike as quickly as we could by car or bus. So there's a
Wow, sure.
not
And you're in
Yeah.
a bike-friendly community.
We
I mean,
are.
people are used
We
to looking
are.
out for bicyclists.
generally
Yeah.
speaking, and there's a lot of infrastructure that's been
Ah.
installed on the streets to help with bicycles, but I think it's still growing, and people are still discovering it here. Not everybody knows about bikes or knows how to be careful around them. That's still always needs progress there, but yeah, Portland's ahead of a lot of cities.
You're turning around sort of a bunch of things. I'm thinking you're taking your concern. You'd mentioned earlier peak oil.
Right.
What kind of scenarios were you thinking of in '07 when the dark cloud was
Yeah.
running around with you?
Well, I think overall, America's reliance on foreign oil, and the true cost of what it costs to bring, gasoline, to us so we can drive all over the place. It seems very high cost to the environment, high cost to all the citizens of the planet. It really, to me, seems like a system that is set up to fail. And the reality is, we're not going to have never-ending growth. It's going to come to an end at some point, and what's going to happen then? Those kinds of things, are what we should think about. And perhaps it's, soon, perhaps it's a few years from now. Either way, I think, I think the time is now to invest into a different future, and becoming less dependent on gasoline or diesel is something to, think about. And if you can convert many of your urban trips from a car to a cargo bike, I think that's a significant, part of the equation there for a lot of Americans. And, lucky for us, there's lots of examples elsewhere in the world where bikes and cargo bikes are, being used in a way that is, lighter on, household budget, easier on the environment.
Well, create more livable cities.
Yes.
I think one of the key times for me was a bike trip that Joel and I did a few years ago, and I think at that time the lethality of the automobile became very, very, obvious to us. Not just the emissions and the other aspects of the fuel consumption, but just seeing the roadkill and even the crosses along the highway, and sometimes
cars kill.
yeah,
Yes.
that there is a better way, and in particular in a city where you don't have to be in an automobile to do what you need to do. I think we've found things that, in fact, the bikes can do that our car couldn't do.
Like what?
Well, one of the things was bringing a filing cabinet into the business here. We couldn't get a 4-drawer filing cabinet in our car,
Wow.
nor could we get a 6-foot pear tree and a, big pot into our car without damaging it. So, strap it onto the bike
Oh, God.
and
That's a great picture. I can see
It
this
was
pear
great.
tree.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, we just strapped it on top of the bike, and it was quite a sight going down the road. It was, but it was so much easier than, trying to stuff it into a car or go rent a truck for just a small little errand when we had a bike available, and so it was fabulous.
And we moved a 7-foot couch a couple of weeks ago. A friend who, no one had access to a pickup truck, and one of these bikes, you just strap it right on, and we pedaled it, 2 or 3 miles across across the city.
Without
no big
having
deal.
to be Superman
No.
strong?
No, the bikes work really well that way.
No, it was
Well, that's
absolutely
ex-
easy.
You know, in a flat city, it's, it doesn't take a lot of horsepower to move, a couple hundred pounds down the street. It's
Sure, it
pretty
might be a
easy.
little different in San Francisco on some of
Right,
the hills
right,
or whatever.
exactly.
So you have to get what's appropriate for where you are.
Right.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But there's still gears like on a traditional bicycle, so you can get into a low gear and you're going slowly, but you get there and
That's fun.
create
I
a
love
sort of
the
fun,
image.
Yeah.
get lots of great looks from people on the sidewalk or the bike lanes going past you. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people think, I don't know that whether I could learn how to ride one of these or whether it's really heavy or awkward or, I'm sure there's reservations. And also I'm sure that they're an investment.
They
just
are,
like any vehicle's an
absolutely.
investment.
A lasting investment, though. I think that's the point we try to make is, you look at
Yeah.
the expense of cars, a cargo bike, once it's paid for, it's practically free, you don't have to pay for parking, you don't have to pay for insurance, you don't have to pay for registration, there's no fuel, the maintenance is fairly minimal, and, that can save a lot of money in a household budget, so.
And I think a lot of people tend to hold on to their bikes. A bicycle, a good quality cargo bike, if you choose wisely and get the one that's right for your needs, I think you could have for the rest of your life. And in some cases, you might replace some parts, but the frame's going to be going and not really have a need, there's not a culture of replacing it every 2 years because the lease is expired, like maybe with an automobile. So your expenses, that initial outlay, once it's passed, I wouldn't anticipate seeing that for, the rest of your lifetime if, maybe in 20 years, if that,
Probably the rest of my life.
Yeah, well, the
Middle
rest of
age.
our lives, exactly.
You're sad.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I would love to see, I'd like to see, how these work as this different, So how about a little tour?
Oh,
Yeah,
we
we'd
have some
love to
great
give you a
bikes I'd
tour.
love to talk about.
Fun.
Yeah.
Show you the variety that's out
Oh, yeah.
there. And
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
get you
Okay.
out on a couple of these. I think you'll have fun.
no, they're
Yeah.
fun.
It'll be great.
All right.
Okay.
All right. This is the Kona Ute. So Kona Bicycles, which is a company out of Vancouver, Canada, has done a fantastic job of creating a bike that's very affordable, that can carry up to 2 children on the back, has a wide range of gears for getting up hills, but perfect for pedaling around the city. Comes with a couple of bags to carry your groceries, and just is an easy bike to use.
So you're saying this is like a transition or a gateway. It's for somebody to just want to step up into starting to carry cargo, mainly kids.
Absolutely. Where a regular bike would be, certainly capable of carrying stuff, this would be a bit more in that it can carry up to 200 pounds.
Oh, wow.
What's really cool about this bike is it's the same bike, except it has an electric motor on it. So you can see here,
Oh.
there's a 250 watt motor powered by a pretty big 13 amp hour lithium ion battery
it's
that's
hidden
under the
under
rack.
there. Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
So this gives you up to 60 miles of range and giving you a little bit of help all along the way.
Does this, you said electric assist. That means you can still do your pedaling and that you just get a little help when you want it, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have a little computer head in here that you can program. It has 3 different settings. You can give a little bit of help, a little more, or a lot of help. And
Okay.
basically, you are still required to pedal the bike. So
Okay.
in Europe, they call this a pedelec. So
Pedelec. That's
Pedelec.
cute.
Yeah.
Cute.
And-
And so that has the same kind of thing as this. You can add
Yes.
child seat things.
Absolutely. So you'd have, you could put up to two of these kid seats in tandem, or you can, put one seat and then maybe an older child sitting on the back here and holding onto the handlebar.
Okay.
So a couple of different setups there.
And then you said there's a way you can pack your groceries.
Yes.
Is that a different accessory?
Yeah. Well, you can see this rack here. So there's a couple of places to attach a giant bag here that could
Oh.
hold 2 bags of groceries.
Okay.
And we have another smaller one that'll hold just 1 bag of groceries,
that's
and you can
cute.
put this
So you
side
could
by
just,
side.
So you're carrying all that weight, most of the weight then,
Right.
on the back
Yes.
wheel.
exactly.
But they have electrical to help you. That could
Yeah,
be
and I think-
really nice.
Yeah, and if
for-
you live in a hilly city, or hilly countryside, this is very appropriate technology, and for the price, this is an amazing value. And for 5 cents to recharge the battery, you can go a long.
5 cents, you can go long. That's
Yeah.
that works.
You think about 60 miles. That's in some vehicles $10-12 in gas.
Sure.
So pretty affordable. And all of this system is developed in Europe, where it's very inspirational there. They're spending currently on bicycles 50% of their dollars on electric assist
Really,
bikes.
I can
So-
imagine that, because people who don't have the endurance or this, what strength,
And-
this makes it
Yeah,
feasible or easier.
yeah. Other things that they're doing in Europe. So this is probably the most popular cargo bike in Denmark.
Wow, is that
It's a
interesting?
three-wheeler. So what's unique about this is that the steering system on it is turns. The wheels
Oh.
actually turn, and the cargo doesn't turn. Where you see a lot of the simpler three-wheel cargo bikes will, the box actually turns. And so this is a little more complex design, but what it makes for is a bike that's easy to ride, and you can see it has a large child seat in there. It can carry two children.
Complete with seat belts.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And,
So-
and your bags of groceries in front of the kids
yeah.
as well. I'll bet this gets a lot of use there in Europe.
Yeah.
Because it's a small car, kind of.
Exactly, yeah.
In capability.
Oh, yeah. And within a mile or two of your house, it'll do everything a car will do. And what we don't see here, but there's actually a tent and rain cover that will go onto the top. So in a rainy winter month, your cargo and your kids will stay dry.
That's I was going to ask about that, because that's going to be a deterrent for some folks who aren't into bikes, is just dealing with the inclement
Right.
weather.
Well, here in Portland, what we say is no such thing as bad weather, just bad gear, bad clothing.
I have to remember that.
Yeah.
What these little guys? Is that just to hold that in place?
Yeah,
Is that something
these
else?
are just holding the fenders here, and I
Okay.
think perhaps there are some attachments that'll go onto it. But,
Okay. Okay.
So, other bikes we should talk about would be the made in Portland version of some of these European-styled
Show me.
long haul cargo bikes. So this
Long haul
Yeah,
cargo
long, or-
bike, because
yeah.
I see this is long.
these are
long.
a front loader, and specifically we would call this a box feet.
Box feet.
Okay. And that's a box bike in Dutch. But this one's inspired by Dutch design, but it's made right here in Portland, and is made out of a little bit lighter materials and more modern components than what you see. This is about a 75-pound bike.
So it's made for heavy duty.
Yes, yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
you don't go
it'll
pick
easily
this thing
carry
up.
a couple 100 pounds of weight. Kids, we can build them with bench
Oh,
seats.
seats.
Yeah,
And so the design here, what I see is you've kept it low,
right.
but with the wheel out front like this. Well, the other one is a three-wheeler. So this is a two-wheeler
Right.
box in front. The weird thing is that you're steering from here, but it. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So that's how it's familiar to you, because you're used
Right.
to a bike that you control
Yeah, and
right where you are.
most people can hop right on this and just pedal it, right down the street. Don't look at the front wheel, just look down the street, and they're pretty easy.
Oh, that's okay. That's fun.
Yeah,
Can you get electric assist for something like this?
absolutely. You can put an electric assist on almost any bike.
Oh, that's good to know.
And
That's comforting.
within the next few
Excellent.
months, we'll be looking at some options for electric assist
Mm-hmm.
on this bike, and then also on the Bullet, which is another. Tell you what, we can just walk right through here. This is another cool feature. Step-through frame.
Yeah, that's
And
fun.
but this is a Bullet that comes out of Copenhagen, Denmark, also, and it is a heavy-duty front-loading cargo bike as well.
This looks like a serious bike. I'm just
Yeah.
looking at this extra pole.
Tubing, yeah. So this bike is made out of aluminum, so the tubes are a little bit larger in diameter.
Okay.
What's really nice about the Bullet is, you can set them up in a lot of different ways, from carrying cargo or carrying groceries, or in this case, this one's set up to easily carry children with a seat that actually, folds up and out of the way when you don't want it, but and you can see the rain cover here, and
Oh wow,
and there you
that's
go.
fun.
And
Yeah,
you
nice
can
little
even
cute
put
seat.
small adults in there. I mean, we've pedaled around. I mean, I have ridden in this seat before, with someone quite a bit smaller than I,
Which is fun.
riding the bike.
Well,
So-
back to the Portland for a minute. You just had some friends come in. Tell us about
Oh yeah, that's right.
your Portlander friends.
Yeah, so we have some friends, Nick and Joseph from Ahearne Cycles are here to talk about the Ahearne cycle truck, and they're just doing great work, and I think we should hear what they have to say.
Thanks. Let's do that. Joseph, what makes your bikes distinctive, unique, special?
Okay, the cycle truck is a
Cycle truck.
yes, it's a cycle truck. This is a type of sort of mid-duty cargo bike
Okay.
that it can haul about 150 pounds up front, stably, securely, safely. The steering is independent from the front rack.
Oh, I see. Okay, that stays fixed.
Yes,
Right.
so
Okay.
these twin tubes are support tubes that go all the way up to the front
I see.
and
So-
hold the front rack fixed
Okay.
to the frame. So essentially what that means is that when you have a lot of weight on the bike, instead of having the basket connected to your steering, with weight, the basket wants to dive.
Yeah.
With this, you end up, it's just a lot more comfortable to ride.
Sure, I
It's
can
a lot
make
more
sense.
intuitive.
It's-
So-
it moves.
Yes. So
I-
this bicycle is a design originally from the early 1900s. They used them as industrial sort of warehouse bikes to haul equipment across from one end to the other. I've taken it, modernized it, made it compatible with modern components, with disc brakes, multiple gears, both front and back, low gear range, so that essentially I've turned it into a commuter style bike that anybody can use for daily riding.
And that includes that the front wheel is smaller than the back wheel.
Exactly. The front wheel is a 20-inch wheel, the rear is 26, and the reason for that is the smaller wheel allows the center of gravity of the rack to be lowered,
Oh.
which
okay.
helps, again, with the
Okay.
stability of the ride.
Yeah, if it were too high, you would tend to tip.
It would want to tip,
Okay.
exactly.
So over here, you've got something kind of interesting. You've got some more little goodies. Nick, what kind of embellishments get added?
This is another option to the cycle truck, and one of the nice features of the cycle truck is you can add on different options, whether it's the basket or just a flat platform or this aluminum box here. This aluminum box allows people to store stuff inside.
Oh.
It's got a rubber gasket, so it's waterproof, and it's lockable. So if you have valuables in there, you can just lock your bike and leave it in there and not worry too much about it.
That's really nice.
It's also out of sight, so if you have something in there, people don't see what you have, so they're not tempted to steal anything.
So it keeps the rain off, the snow off, whatever,
Yeah.
and invisible. I like it.
Invisible, yep.
And locked.
Yep,
So that's sort of like locking your car. I mean, you want
Yeah.
that for the safety.
absolutely.
So I want to ask you both here. Let me just come on over, Nick. You guys obviously put a lot of TLC into making what? Custom bikes, I would expect here.
Yeah.
Why do you put your heart and soul into that?
It's, well, bikes are our life, and they're our lifestyle, and we ride every day. And if you ride every day, you have to haul something around, and sometimes a backpack or just regular bags don't do the trick. You need something with bigger capacity, not just volume, but just the mass, so you can just haul more stuff. And this allows you to do a lot more bags of groceries, a lot more things with it.
These bikes are an attempt to bridge a gap between some of the larger capacity bikes, the long tails, the Bachfeet style bikes. This rides like a standard bicycle, so that it's more intuitive. There is a learning curve with some of the larger bicycles
Yeah.
that this one essentially doesn't have. I mean, every bike feels different from another for all of the traditional riding bikes, but this one feels more like a traditional bike than the the true cargo bikes, I guess.
So what one is used to in learning how to ride a bicycle,
Right.
it's just
Exactly. These are very
a
intuitive.
step into that.
Yes.
What inspires you about meeting and doing this kind of work?
Well, I think, as Nick said, we both ride bikes everywhere all the time, and we're looking, the type of riding we do, we like to do everything. We like to be able to go everywhere we need to go, do everything, go to the store, go to the hardware store, go to whatever, and carry everything we need to carry, and not have to worry about, oh, I'm at the store and I need to get this stuff, but I can't carry it back. And then, having to think about the logistics of getting the car and all that. Neither of us drive very often. It's pretty rare. So this is an attempt to get out of that. And this is an attempt to help others get out of that, because there are many different options, but I wanted to try and come up with the best kind of multi-purpose commuter that I could. And
It
that's,
strikes me that these bikes make the nice transition for someone who's used to bikes, and now they're at a gentle cargo bike truck that you've made. They may step up to something bigger if it encompasses more of their life, but you've made this approachable, maybe.
Maybe it's the gateway cargo bike.
the gateway
The
cargo.
gateway. Oh, I like
Yes.
that. The gateway, the transitions to it. Thank you. This is great. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, this is fun. They make this so easy. This little tricycle.
It's so much nicer riding a bicycle.
Oh yeah, I mean fresh air and
Yeah.
sunshine and the whole works. It's
Lovely.
nice.
Hey, Janaia, would you
Yeah?
like to ride the two-wheeler here?
Oh sure, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so this one's
is-
pretty easy to ride. Best bet is just to look forward, don't look at the front wheel, and pedal, ride it like a regular bike.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay.
I
well,
bet- I
we'll
bet
see.
you'll get it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
There. Okay, straight ahead.
Indeed.
Straight
See there?
ahead. Whoop, whoop.
Whoa,
no,
first
that away,
time.
that away. Okay.
See?
Ah,
Told ya.
Yeah.
Told you it was easy.
Yeah. Does it turn? Yeah. Woo! It does. It turns. Whoa!
Yeah.
Oh, this is nice. I can see why you do bikes rather than cars. This is a whole lot more fun. This fossil-fueled smokestack behind me was running coal, polluting and dirty, and that's our old technology that we're running out of, like oil. I've just been riding some wonderful cargo bikes, including this electric assist, whose little lithium-ion battery can, for 5 cents a charge, take me 60 miles round trip. Now that's the wave of the future. I'm Janaia Donaldson. You're watching Peak Moment, locally reliant living for challenging times, and with things like this, the challenge is fun. Join us next.